Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and to our new filming setup. So from now on I'm going to be filming my videos here. This is basically our bedroom. I had to switch rooms because the other room is now called the Chambers of the Air. That's not true, that's not what we call it, it's a joke. We just call it the baby room. I was a little bit bumped in the beginning, but now I'm starting to see the clear advantages of filming here because I have the best company. We have a black kitty sleeping like an angel over there. Just going to jump into today's video, and the topic of today's video is my favorite makeup brushes. I've been thinking about doing this video for a while now, and then one of you actually requested it, so I thought it's the perfect time to do it. So I'm going to show you my favorite eye and face brushes. Let me start off by saying that you're going to see a lot of Zueva brushes in here. The reason being that I have a lot of sets from I've purchased a lot of brush sets from Zueva over the years, and the reason I've done that is because I love the brand. I think they make really good quality brushes. I think they're beautiful. They always come in the most beautiful pouches in terms of packaging. It's a European based brand because Zueva is a German brand, so it's much easier for me to purchase than a lot of other brands that are going to cost me an arm and a leg to get here. And yeah, if you live in the US or North America and you're afraid that you can't get these brushes, don't be alarmed. I'm pretty sure you can find Zueva brushes everywhere. I'm pretty sure you can find Zueva brushes nowadays both on Cult Beauty and Beauty Bay. I'm going to leave the links of both of these websites in the description box below. They ship worldwide, so you can definitely get a hold of these brushes. They're not that hard to find. The first brushes I want to start off with are some of my favorite types of brushes, and those are blending brushes. So the two favorites that I want to show you are from Zueva and from Spectrum Collections. Let's start with the Zueva one. Don't be confused about the Zueva brushes. They will come in different colors of the handles, but the numbers of the brushes are the same in the sets. So if I tell you the number of the brush, that means that whichever set you get it from, or if you purchase it in a single, it will still be this brush, it will not be another brush. So the color of the handle doesn't really matter. So this brush is the Lux Crease 228 brush. It looks like this, and it is basically a sort of tapered here and the end blending brush. A very similar brush to that is the Spectrum B06 brush, which looks like this. Mine is in this purple and pink sort of handle, and it has beautiful blue to purple bristles. The difference between these two brushes is that obviously this one over here, the Spectrum one, is synthetic, and this one is if I'm not mistaken, made of goat hair. So this one is definitely cruelty free. This one I can't guarantee because, you know, it comes from an animal source. So the other brush company that I purchase from often is Spectrum. Spectrum is also a European-based brand. They are based in the UK, but if I'm not mistaken, they also ship worldwide, and they're also very affordable. They offer sets, or you can purchase singles. When they have sales especially, it's an exceptionally good time to get their brushes. So these brushes are very similar in terms of what they do for me. They're both the big type of blending brushes that you would use to blend color in your crease or a bit above the crease. I don't use these brushes for detailed crease work because they're too big for that. And the reason I love these brushes so much is because you can see that if you look at the shape of my eye, I have fairly small eyes, but I have a lot of space between my lid and my brow bone. So I have a lot of crease and above the crease area. So especially when I apply transition colors, so lighter matte type of colors, in my case most of the time I use these types of brushes because they are very good at picking up the product and then blending it out very softly in and above my crease. These are some of my favorite types of brushes to purchase, and this is probably the type of brush that I have the most of. I have, I think, several of those Spectrum brushes, and I have this brush from several sets from Zueva, so I absolutely love these brushes and I highly recommend them if you have the space to work with. Another advantage of these brushes is that you can definitely use them if you want to have a wash of color on your lid and just blend it out. So if you want a super easy smoky eye, this is your best friend. Next type of blending brush that I want to show you is this one. It is the 227, also from Zueva, and as you see, this brush has a slightly different shape because it is a little bit more pinched. Do you see how much more flat and pinched it is? So this type of brush I also really like for depositing colors on my lid and then gently blending them out into my crease. I do prefer the other type of brush to blend above my crease just because I feel like This doesn't have enough space for that, it's just not like fluffy enough for that, but this is a great brush for that one and done kind of look if you want to just deposit color on your lid and then gently blend it out. I feel like this maybe picks up the product a bit more because it's a bit flatter. Then I want to show you one of my ultimate favorite makeup brushes ever, and that is the Lux Defined 224 crease from Zueva. I don't know whether you can see, it has a somewhat smaller size compared to the other blending brushes, and it's very like flat on this side, like and it's very flat here on top. It's like someone pinched it with scissors. This brush is amazing for depositing dark colors in your deep crease and then blending them out only into your deep crease without bringing them too much up. Because if you have a brush like this, obviously you will go into your crease, but then the color will be diffused much further. With this brush, you can deposit color so beautifully just in your crease and blend it out softly. I absolutely love this brush. I don't think I've ever come across a brush that does quite the same thing. So if there's one brush that I highly recommend picking up from Zueva, it's this one. It is the 224 Lux Defined, just so you know. I wouldn't say this brush is the best for like packing dark color, so if you want to like really pack the color in your outer corner here, you may or may not be able to do that depending on the eyeshadow. The next brush I'm going to show you is much better at that. However, this brush is amazing for blending that color out without bringing it too much up into your crease and making the look too dramatic and too, you know, dark very quickly. Alright, my next favorite type of brush is the Petite Crease from Zueva. It is the number 231. And this is basically a pencil crease type of brush. It is bigger than a pencil brush. Let me just quickly show you, just for size comparison. You can see that while the shape is very similar, these brushes have a very different size to them. This brush, so this little crease brush, is amazing for depositing dark color, especially here in the outer part of your eye, without bringing it too much further. And it's also very nice for blending it out. It's not as nice for blending out the color as the previous brush I showed you, but it does the job. You can also definitely use this brush to blend color on your lower lash line. You can also put it like to deposit color all over your lid and then use another blending brush to blend it out. Alright, the next two type of brushes I want to show you are classic shader packing type of brushes. So this one is from Zueva and this one is from a local store that you cannot really find anywhere else. The reason I wanted to show you this one is I'm going to show you, save it, we're going to talk about it in a second. Let's just first talk about the Zueva brush. So this is the Lux Smoky Shader 234 brush from Zueva. And it looks like this. It is a classical shader brush. This is the 239 from MAC that everyone is so familiar with. It's exactly the same brush, only from Zueva. It's a very nice brush if you want to pack color on your eyelid and you don't use your fingers like I do, because I use my fingers a lot, especially for metallic foiled glittery eyeshadows. But if you're someone who doesn't like to do that, you can definitely also use this type of brush to apply shadow on your lid, and it packs color really beautifully. This brush, on the other hand, it doesn't matter which company it's from, because it's really about the concept of the brush itself. So this brush is very like flat. I don't know whether you can see the difference between these two. So the Zueva brush is slightly fluffier and has a bit more like give to the hairs, whereas this one is a very like stiff brush. This is a synthetic brush, and what I really like to use these types of brushes for, like these types of like hard synthetic brushes, is to pick up cream products or eyeshadows that are very foiled and very densely packed. I feel like those do a better job than these, because with these you're basically going to pick up flakes of eyeshadow, and with this one I feel like you can kind of like swipe it like a cream and then put it on your eyelids. Okay, the next brush is the 322 Brow Line brush, which shockingly is a brush to apply brow products with. So this brush is from Zueva, and you can see that compared to a lot of like these types of slanted liner brushes, it's very short and very like stubby, and it is a little bit more densely packed. For instance, I have a similar brush from Zueva again, and I don't know whether you can see the difference. This one is much thinner and much more precise compared to this one. Now, which one you're going to use is really a matter of preference. I personally like to use this type of brush because I feel like it picks up and diffuses slightly less product. I already have very like thick brows, so for me personally I don't like the super geometric Instagram brow where every line is like sharp and cut. I prefer something a little more diffuse. You can use this brush definitely with a pomade kind of product or with a powder, whatever floats your boat. And if I was still using either of those, I would be definitely using this brush, but lately I've just been using like a tinted brow gel. I don't use anything else to my brows at the moment. But when I was using brow products, like gel or powder, I was actually reaching for this brush quite a lot. You can definitely use this brush also to like push product in your lash line or to apply things here in the outer part of your lower lash line. It's not something that I would advise you to apply eyeliner with, just because I feel like it's not very precise for that, but for all the rest of the purposes you can definitely use this brush. And now let's talk about the next one, which is a 317 wing liner brush. I know a lot of people like to apply their brow pomades with this brush because it is so incredibly like thin and precise. Like I said, I do not use this brush for that because I feel like the Instagram brow just doesn't do anything for me. I love using this brush to wing a liner with gel eyeliners. So whenever I'm going to use my Inglot gel liners or whatever kind of other gel eyeliners I have, I always use this brush because it is so thin and so precise. We have a classic over here, which is just a pencil brush. This is the 230, also from Zueva. It looks like this. There's not much to say about this brush. It's a classic pencil brush. It's beautiful for applying inner corner highlights. If you want to apply a little bit of shimmery shade on your brow bone, if you want to smoke out your lower lash line, works for all of these, or like a really dark color in your outer corner. Classic pencil brush staple, I really like. And the next two brushes are my more like detailed types of brushes. They're also both from Zueva. This one is the 226 Smudger brush. It looks like this. Again, a classic smudger type of brush. I really like this brush because it's somewhat better for like packing color on your lower lash line, because it's a little bit less dense and less fluffy compared to a pencil brush. With a pencil brush you run the risk of putting things too low, or like your actual eyeball being filled with powder. With this brush you can apply and like actually pack the color, and then you can use the pencil brush to smudge things out. The next brush is also a nifty little thing that I highly recommend picking up. This is the Lux Precise Shader number 238 from Zueva. You can see how incredibly like tiny it is. It's like the tiniest shader type of brush. This brush is amazing if you want to like pack things in your lower lash line for like really precise work, wherever you want to do really precise work. I also use it a lot for like my lower lash line and stuff. Very useful little thing to have in your collection if you want a tiny precise shader type of brush. So something that you can pack color with rather than blend it out. And now let's quickly move into my face brushes. The first brush I want to talk about is the Spectrum Bo2 brush, which is this very dense rounded type of brush. This brush is amazing for a variety of things. You can use it for bronzer, you can use it for application of blush. It works both with cream products and with powder products, and if you want to apply like foundation with this type of brush, you can definitely do that. I apply my foundation only with a sponge, so I never use brushes for that, but if I were to use a brush, probably I would use something like this. So this is a very versatile brush and very good quality because it's very soft, it's synthetic, and the hairs are packed very densely. This brush, by the way, comes from a set from Spectrum, which I highly recommend. It comes with 3 other brushes. I only have 2 of them here, but the other 2 are these, and it goes on sale very often, so you can definitely get this set with a really good price from Spectrum, and I highly recommend it because all the 4 brushes that come in this set are amazing, but this one just happens to be my favorite. Okay, another favorite from Spectrum is the AO4, which I've talked about so many times. This is like a tapered bigger tapered kind of brush that you can use for a variety of things, such as setting your under eye or applying cream products on your under eye. If I did that, I would probably really enjoy using this brush, but I don't use it for that. I think this brush is amazing for application of highlighter, because you can pick up the product here on the tip of the brush or a little bit like that on the side, and then you can use the side to blend it out. And I don't know whether you see how just nicely it sits. So the only thing, unfortunately, that Spectrum Brush doesn't work for is application of ABH highlighters, because ABH highlighters are like very glittery and very chunky, and that brush is very soft and just kind of picks up the glitter and doesn't really pick up the actual highlighter very well. So this is a no-name cheapo fan brush, and the reason I like this brush so much is because it has very like stiff bristles. They're not like super soft, they're a little bit stiffer, and they're not too like sparse and too thin. So this brush is absolutely amazing for picking up Anastasia highlighters. So if you don't want to pick up a super expensive Anastasia A23 brush to apply your Anastasia highlighters, you can definitely search for something like this, but beware, don't buy the synthetic type of brushes of this sort, because they're too soft and they kind of do the same, they kind of pick up the glitter only. Look for something that has somewhat stiffer bristles to it. And my last favorite brush is also a no-name cheapo brush. This is my favorite powder blush, and this brush is also made of synthetic hair. You can see it's incredibly like dense, it's really soft, and I love applying my finishing powders with this type of brush. So yeah, I'm not very pretentious when it comes to brushes. They don't have to be very expensive. If they do the job and they are in a good price range, then I'm all down for it. I highly recommend trying either sets or single brushes from both ZOEVA and Spectrum Collections. There are of course other affordable brands nowadays that you can try, but these happen to be two of my favorites, and those are also the most used brushes that I have in my collection, so I decided to share them with you. I hope this was useful for you. If you have any questions about any of the brushes, leave them in the comment section below. Let me know if you have any favorite brushes that I might be interested in picking up someday. And by the way, the mailman was still here. Look what he brought. So this is the Saharan 2 from Juvia's Place. I've been eyeing this palette for a really long time, and I am so curious what the big deal is with VZ Art eyeshadows. This is like a little pocket size eyeshadow palette, but it was a decent price. I picked it up from Beauty Bay for like 26 euros or something. It has a good variety of colors, and I'm so curious what the big deal is with VZ Art eyeshadows. Anyway, I'm sensing this video is going to be 20 minutes at least again, so I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!